Good day, everyone. My name is Dan of Sharpe Trade LLC, and today we are continuing in a series that we have, sort of a free online series, in regards to trading psychology and emotional discipline. Please remember, if you're seeing this as a standalone video somewhere, this whole video is part of a much larger series. So you can go to like Sharpe Trade itself in the education series and click there. And then you scroll down and you'll see the entire series of trading psychology and emotional discipline. I believe it's number 3. Or you can go to Sharpe Trade and go to our YouTube channel. And then when you are at the YouTube channel, if you scroll down, you should see trading psychology and emotional discipline. So it's a part of a series. So a little bit of a continuation from the previous video that we had on Ash conformity. I had mentioned it there that everybody thinks they're going to be like the next Steve Eisman, right? And I said, you're not going to want to be, because it's no fun. But there's another phenomenon there. If I can just carry over just a couple of continuing thoughts from that previous entry. There's some aspect, I think, where people fall in love or with the idea of being the financial rock star, making the brave call. Another example of Ash conformity, right? So, like, I'm going to be honest. I think if it's true, and I don't know that it's true, but if it is true that Dr. Burry sunk that much of the capital into one position on an illiquid market, I would have been furious as well. I mean, that's not a matter of whether he was right or wrong. That's a matter of just poor risk control. I would have been in there with every bit of venom I could muster. But anyways, people are painted in a certain light. They may not, the person being painted in that light probably doesn't enjoy it, but as like some sort of financial rock star that made the brave call and he was correct, and people fall in love with the idea of being that guy, and they try very hard to be that guy. It's another example of Ash conformity. So we saw that a lot in 2010, 2011, 2012. That, those guys were still enough in the public consciousness to where everybody wanted to be them. And no, here's where it's going to collapse. Here's where it's going to collapse. Here's where it's going to collapse. And the market just chugged higher and higher and higher. Ripped those guys' faces off. And I saw a lot of it. Maybe it's just me making judgments I shouldn't make about other people. But you saw them wanting to make the brave call. And I had to ask myself how much of that was just another example of Ash conformity. Right? They wanted to be the one making the brave call. When that's not what investing and trading is all about. It's really not. So I think there's some aspect of just falling in love with the idea of being the rock star that makes that call. That ain't trading. But I think it is another example of Ash conformity, trying to conform yourself to what's perceived as the hot and hip thing. However, in this particular entry, we are talking about humility. By the way, just one note before we get to the idea of processes and strategies. This is just a series, right? Trading psychology and emotional discipline. What I mean by that is some people have made entire blogs and just books and reams of just information that goes on and on for years about trading psychology and emotional discipline. This will not be that. Okay, we're not going to have that. This is just a brief overview of so many concepts that we see new traders, when they get involved in the markets, they hit a stumbling block, they hit a stumbling block, they hit a stumbling block. And this playlist, this free online course, if you want to call it that, is just something we're going to be able to point to in the future and say, yes, we know about that. Welcome to being a human being. Trading's not easy. Yes, we've got an entry on that. There it is, right? So just more things that we see come up again and again and again and again and again. And so we're just going to address those points. And it is important to know that, yes, trading is a psychological game. But I don't want to make this into some sort of like giant trading psychology website, for the front half of the business that Sharpe Trade does. I don't want to, Sharpe Trade doesn't want to do that, because that just gets nonsensical after a while. I mean, years ago, a trader I respect, to this day I respect, Canadian FX trader. He brought out one of those blogs to me, and I sort of snapped, and I felt I felt bad afterwards because I didn't mean to snap at him. But I'd seen that blog go on about trading psychology for like 7 years. And it was like, okay, dude, we got it. All right, yes, we know. Trading's difficult. All right, we got it. It's a psychological game. We know! Stop! Because it just went on for like 8 years. And I don't know, I left a flippant comment, and I didn't mean to come across that way. But it's just like it had gone on for so long. So that's not what this is looking to be. It's just things we see come up again and again and again. So we're just going to have a short playlist that addresses those. So, processes. You need a process. We've talked about that many times. Here's a issue we see a lot that happens again and again and again with new traders. Is they'll learn a process, they get some sort of statistical advantage, and they think they have got the one way to trade. That's it. They've got the one way to trade, and everybody else is stupid. I would say that there is a high degree of impact of the Dunning-Kruger effect with that particular process. Some individuals get totally wrapped up inside this. It goes beyond having a type A personality. I mean, wild, aggressive narcissists. They learn maybe one, maybe two processes with a statistical advantage, and they believe they have the one and only way to trade. I've been doing this for 20 years. I trade now for a small firm, and I can tell you, I am still running into things that processes, entire ways of trading, that I had no idea even existed. No concept that they existed. But they're out there, and people are trading them to make money. Have some humility. Okay? There are myriads and myriads and myriads of particular processes to trade. What we see happen a lot of times is these traders will find out a statistical advantage, and they just turn into jackasses. I mean, quite frankly. They just turn into complete and utter jackasses because it's like they figured it out, and it's pretty cool when you figure it out and you're generating consistent profits. It is pretty cool. But money acts like a giant magnifying glass. It's sort of like, people say that about the camera or getting in front of a microphone. It just magnifies what was already there. I heard Street Outlaws, right? I used to do street racing in my youth. And somebody was saying that about, was it Joseph? Dominator. They were like, I think it was Justin Shearer said that the camera acts like a giant magnifying glass. So you have this guy, and he's a nice guy. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. And when you put the camera in front of him, that's just magnified. He just seems like, it's like, man, this is just the nicest guy in the entire universe. Right? It's just the camera's acting like a magnifying glass. I had to laugh. I was watching one episode, and Justin got all pissed, right? Because there was some alpha dog stuff going on, and Dominator got hung up in that. And Chief goes over to him and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" And Dominator just hangs his head like, "I know. I suck. I'm sorry." But the whole point is, right, the camera acts as a magnifying glass. Money acts as a magnifying glass. If you were a nice guy before, it could magnify that. If you're ambivalent, it's going to magnify that. If you're a jackass, it's going to magnify that, right? Money just acts like a giant magnifying glass. So these guys will learn one process, statistical process. Some of them even offer courses that do make money. They ask me all the time, "Hey, that particular guy, does that make money?" I was like, "Yep, absolutely, I can tell you. A, I've watched a series of trades that guy does. B, I've looked at the process. I know the process under the hood. Absolutely, that makes money. I think he's a jackass and a giant D-bag, but it makes money. I'll even say I think he's overly aggressive and abusive. I would say even that individual is abusive to people that buy his course. But doesn't make money? Oh yeah, absolutely. Just have some humility to understand there's a wider world out there. of it. We've had podcasts on that, the wider universe of investing and trading. I've been doing this for 20 years. We use a number of processes, right? On the front side of our business, on the front side of the house, we have an online short-term, online trading course. Talks about all the principles of trading. A little bit of psychology as it meets up with the strategies that we discuss. Because we don't talk about one strategy. This is Dan's one way. This is the one way. No, as I've progressed and matured, there's many ways to make money. There's many statistical processes. We highlight just a few. We hope by the end of them, 11, 12 different videos, you get a feel for, you get the statistical process. I think Rob and NJ over at the DTG call it a trade event. You get something you can segment, make a trade event. You find out what your risk advantage is. Do you have an inverted profile or is it a positive profile? And then your accuracy rate. And then you just grind that out, right? And we talk about that in our short-term course, but my point is we have several processes we discuss. So just understand, like that podcast we had, there's a wider universe of investing and trading out there. Well, wait a minute, Dan, are you just saying just be a nice guy? No, I'm saying this will help you as an investor and trader. Yeah, I think don't be a D-bag, right? Don't be a jackass. I mean, that's always good advice, I think, for anybody. But what I'm saying is, if you keep an open mind, people are always asking me, well, how do you know that guy over there? And how do you know that guy over there? And how did you, I talk to them. I open my mouth. Now, when I opened my mouth to talk to them, I was willing to learn. And I found out, wow, I don't even you get a stock guy and a futures guy, totally different language, totally different lingo. You may not even understand what they're saying at first. If you go into that environment and it's like, I am top dog, no one can tell me anything, well, you're not going to learn. And I'm still learning. I was listening to somebody the other day talking about this particular individual spreads Australian notes, futures, which is not exactly the most liquid thing out there. And the how do I put this? The background information that they filter through before they get to their trade event, that's I knew people obviously spread notes, right? But it's done in Australia. But the other thing was what they look through before they get to their trade event and sort of sizing up the context of the market. It was like, what are you even talking about? like I'm an idiot, all right? I'm just going to raise my hand. I don't even understand what you're saying. It takes humility to do that. And when you do that and talk to different individuals, your knowledge about the markets, your context in the markets expands. You learn more. Stay humble. Understand there's myriads of processes. We discuss some in our courses. There are others out there. We say that in the course. We have this whole section of the course where we say, please understand there's more than what we're going to show you here. Okay? And A, just don't be a jackass. Okay? And B, you'll learn. And learning is what you need to do because the markets are always changing. And so having that aspect of humility when you run into something different, it's why Sharpe Trade LLC is not afraid, and the guys over at DTG aren't afraid to we're doing different things and be conversing with one another because we realize it's like what do you want to do? You want to do futures intraday? Hey, I'm gonna first tell you DTG, man. Period. Right? I'm not afraid to say that. And when you have that attitude, you learn. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this, like myself, for 2 decades. Some guys, 3 decades. When you have that attitude, you learn about the markets. It's not only about just being a nice guy. It's about expanding your knowledge base. And that keeps you profitable. So have some humility when you run into other processes. Okay? So for now, that's been our entry in the series, and that has been what it's always been. It's simply been our thoughts, not yours, for whatever the heck day it is. As always, stay safe, trade well, and remember that love doesn't cost a dime.